What's your worst ex-girlfriend or boyfriend story? Story 1. I dated a guy who didn't wear shoes ever. Come winter, I took him on a hike up the mountain near my house. I told him to wear boots, as it's winter and snowing. Man brings flip-flops. We made it up a couple flights of stairs before he complains his feet are too cold to go any further. On our way down, I thought to myself, what the fuck am I doing dating a man who doesn't wear shoes? He'd be barefoot on the dirty city streets. There was one restaurant in town that allow him inside with no shoes. Real winner, that one. Story 2. My ex just got out on bail for running over and beating a girl with a crowbar because she thought she was sleeping with her man. The girl she beat is now in a vegetative state. Thank God I got out of that one early. Story 3. After we broke up, she called to tell me she was pregnant and needed $600 for an abortion. I did the math and it was impossible. I was the father. I told her I wanted to keep the baby and that I'd be happy to take it, and she could even terminate her parental rights and not have to pay child support. I would be a single dad. A week later, she miscarried. Story 4. My ex-wife used to gaslight me and try to convince me things I saw with my own eyes were remembered wrong or never happened. She even went as far as telling our therapist that I was paranoid and delusional, all to cover up her lies, and even used her kid in her lies without him knowing. A lot of similar stories to that, and she was a pathological liar. I ignored a lot of red flags though, and excused her behavior away. Literally thought I was losing my mind while going through all that shit. Once it was all said and done, it felt like I was given my sanity back. Story 5. I was dating a guy for a brief minute against my better judgment, and one of my really beautiful friends fell in the shower and broke her nose. His response was, haha, good. I like when girls who are too full of themselves get their faces fucked up. After the horror of what he said wore off, I promptly dumped and blocked him. His mom texted me a few days later to tell me that I wasn't a nice girl and her son deserved better. Hope you're doing so bad in life, Kyle. Story 6. I have a lot of crazy ex stories, but this is probably right at the start of my chasing girls journey. When I was 14, got put next to a really cute blonde in a new class at school, and we hit it off straight away. We flirted and laughed and joked and started seeing each other. The strange stuff started with endless phone calls about how she was naked. I was 14 and very shy back then. I had no clue how to respond. She started to claw my hands in class and make them bleed, behaving very odd, cutting herself, insulting me, and in the end I sat next to somebody else and kind of broke off with her. Few days later in class, sat at my desk and everything went dark. She'd thrown a curtain over my head and started strangling me in front of the whole class. Somebody pulled her off. She was in deep trouble, and she was moved from my class because my parents complained. She still called me and kept hanging up. Then one day a mate turned up at my house with his new girl. It was her. Door slammed in her face. I have no idea how such a cute-looking girl could be a raging nutbag. Story 7. Dated for 5 years. I worked my ass off while she took the summer off to fuck around with drugs and get mad at me when I tried to address her unhealthy coping mechanisms. She flew out to Amsterdam with some of her idiot friends to go on a crazy drug bender and came back a bloody mess. Once again, super mad when I expressed my concern for her and suggested alternatives that we could work on together. She used me as a wallet, taking her places, buying her food, games to play together, etc. Found out that she was cheating on me with one of my housemates in my 3rd year of university. The worst part? It broke my heart. In hindsight, I know she was terrible, but at the time and for a few years after, I was completely shattered. I felt like somehow I'd failed her when it was the other way around. Story 8. Mine isn't anything crazy. We have always gotten along great because we have children together. However, last Christmas I messaged her asking her to text me the name of the game my son wanted for Christmas because I forgot the name and wanted the name saved on my phone to remember it. My son's reaction is a whole other sorry, but when he opened the game he said it was trash. I asked her why she said he wanted the game I got him, and her excuse was that she told me the wrong game because she wanted to get it for him for his birthday. His birthday is shortly after Christmas, and as far as I know, she still believes what she did is okay. Maybe she's running for Mom of the Year and will let nothing stand in her way. Story 9. Best friends since we were kids. We grew up together. The good old story. One day in the summer of 2019, I saw her at a wedding. I danced with her. She told me she didn't have a boyfriend and started to flirt with me. Awesome. The person I trusted with my life was in love with me. Sure, there was the usual awkwardness of going from best friends to lovers, but it seemed like something straight out of the movies. We wouldn't stop cuddling. We would take cute pictures where I was resting my head on her shoulder and she was caressing my cheek. You know the drill. Nothing could be better. At least until she became really busy with her studies, no longer had time to see me, and we didn't get to become an official couple. She ended up dating another guy whose schedule lined up with hers. Last time I saw her was shortly before COVID came around, but no worries, she was still my best friend even if we didn't end up together like in the movies. Except it was actually a prank. This summer I found out she wasn't busy with her studies at all. She avoided me on purpose, but had all the time in the world to make new friends to the left and right and to go to all the parties and on all the trips she felt like. She knew the other guy the whole time while flirting with me. It's possible that she had got together with that other guy shortly before she started to flirt with me, and she kept him secret while leading me on. From what I could gather, somewhere down the line before she started to flirt with me, she started to think players were cool and badass, so she decided she wanted to be one. And since she was my best friend of all time and I trusted her with my life, she had the opportunity to play not just a stupid game, but the mother of all stupid games. So she figured it would be really funny if I missed out on my chance to find a real girlfriend, and instead waited around for her like an idiot so I could watch how she runs off with another guy. She led me on until all the other girls I could have picked instead of her got boyfriends, then went on her merry way with the other guy and pretended I didn't exist. All of this just so she could have a laugh. Now I'm still single thanks to her stupid prank. After she was done playing me, COVID came around with the lockdowns and everything, meaning I had no way to go and meet new people. Now that the world is going back to normal, I work a full-time job, so I have way less time to meet people than I did before, and all the girls I run into already have boyfriends. I feel so weird even typing all this. The whole situation is so crazy and nonsensical it sounds more like some incel's made-up scenario than the story of how my former best friend turned out to be a jerk. Story 10. Walked in on her giving a dude at the bar a handy on her birthday. When confronted later on about the possibility of our relationship not working out, she threw mugs at me, and finally tried hitting me with an IKEA end table. She threatened to beat herself up and blame it on me if I broke up with her, because in her own words, nobody would ever believe a loser like me. Whoever says men can't be abused in relationships are full of shit. This was 2 years ago and I'm still uneasy about trusting women on dates and haven't had a relationship last longer than 2 weeks since then. Story 11. Spent 3 years abusing me while drinking heavily and neglecting our son, even shot at me and nearly hit my child. I was in the service and already slotted for deployment, so it was leave my son with them or just stick it out. After years of physical and mental abuse as well as cheating in some pretty horrendous ways, I was out of the service and free to leave and take my son and house that I paid for. They found out, came home, broke my phone and clocked me over my head in my sleep, then ran to the cops and said I had PTSD and assaulted them. Cops believed him, and I got arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. They gave them a restraining order for 2 years that said I could only have supervised visitation and couldn't go in my house. I was forced to pay child support while they refused me visitation for the last 2 years. I beat the case in a full-blown 4-day trial by jury, and they actually came to me telling me how sorry they were for me afterwards. I still haven't seen my son. But that protective order will be up soon and I was found innocent. Not sure how to handle taking my house and son back after that really. Story 12. This girl I used to date didn't agree with our breakup. Her words were, "We are couple. I don't agree with you saying that isn't working. I want to stay together, so we need to find compromise." And after explaining that this won't work for me, because I don't want to be in this relationship because it just takes my happiness away, she spent like 3 hours in her car crying in my driveway, and asking me if I'm really gonna leave her crying in her car and not to come apologize to her. We were together almost a year. She lived with her ex, sleeping in his bed, and was surprised that I don't want to deal with that shit anymore. Most funniest thing is that she hated it there, but she never wanted to stay with me more than few days, and when I break up with her she told me that she wanted to surprise me and move in with me next month. I really want to know what she was thinking, cause I can't even imagine my reaction if she one day just showed up with her things at my doorstep with surprise moving in. Still laughing about this one. Story 13. My most recent ex, we were together for 2 years. I gave her over $13,000 over a span of 6 months to pay for rent, cell phone, etc. And one night we were at her place and she started to drink, and when she drank she got depressed and thought everyone was out to get her. She went into the spare room for a bit and I went in there to see if she was okay and talk her down, and that didn't work. So I walked out of the room and next thing I knew she was right in my face with a pocket knife she had. And it was pushed into my stomach. She said that she was going to kill herself but was going to kill me first. She did stab me, but not terrible. I used some butterfly stitches. Once I got out of there, I went home, and not even 30 minutes later her mother calls me begging me to give her another shot. I didn't and haven't spoke to her since 2015. Saw her at the grocery store recently and she locked eyes with me and started walking my way, only to find my current girlfriend standing by the cart. Story 14. I wouldn't say I've had the worst experience ever regarding exes, yet I think some people might relate to it. So I met her at the university. We bonded and had good chemistry. She was that type of girl who had poor self-esteem and drowned her sadness on alcohol or smoking, but she was genuinely nice person and had a good time with her, so I figured why not? Couple weeks after we started dating and everything was going great, she even stopped smoking and decreased her alcohol consumption drastically. But the one thing I got to know from her when we started dating was her jealousy levels. I didn't really mind at first. This mistake had repercussions afterwards, cause I just thought she'd feel safer with time and would just improve that, cause I consider myself a good partner. Fast forward 1 year later, I started to lose female friends, but somehow I was okay with it because I thought I was supporting her, except when I lost my best friend due to her. I started to have doubts about my relationship, but I never really did anything about it. Big mistake. I also figured she started to export some of my chats with the few female friends I had at the time, which at the time really got me thinking even more. If I had to end things, emphasis must be made on the fact that I've never been the jealous type of boyfriend. If any, I could care less what my GF did with other people cause it's out of my control. A few months after, I had an unexpected mental health breakdown, so I had to choose either to save myself or my relationship, cause clearly I couldn't do both. I ended things with her and tried to stay as friends, hoping things could eventually get better. They didn't. Uglier colors started to show even more. Even if she was supportive to me, at the same time she was trying to get her best interest on getting me back, knowing that I didn't want to have a relationship for that time. To not make this story longer, she sent me an 80-page PDF telling me just bad things. I don't know how she managed to do this, and it really got to me and stayed with that sense of guilt for a couple months. Took me a good while to be able to even mention or hear her name, blocked her everywhere, and as where she is today, I've heard nothing but just negative things from her. Moral: don't try to fix someone's mental health. Is not your job, and it surely costs you a lot afterwards. Story 15. I was sitting on the couch, got out of work early. My husband at the time comes stumbling in, drunk, surprised I was home. He sneaks off to the bedroom. I walked in a bit later. He was passed out. That's when I find his phone on the floor. I had suspected he was cheating for quite a while. In his text messages was a discussion from the other woman. I love you, but what are we going to do about her? His reply: don't worry, I'll take care of that. The next day I confront him about the messages. He puts me in a chokehold and says if I calm down, he won't let me pass out. I knew then he was trying to kill me. I kicked him in the balls and got the heck out of Dodge. Afterwards I found he killed our pets. It's a heck of a lot to deal with.